This was the first time that most of the people present had seen He Xingjiu make a move. After all, this fellow had always relied on his mouth and had never used his true strength before. When those brainless fans of the East Phoenix Kingdom saw that their Majesty had actually unleashed a bolt of lightning, the crowd immediately became excited. They all pulled at their necks and cheered, "Female Emperor of Magnificence is a peerless beauty in the world. Female Emperor of the Wind and Flowers sink the fish fall the geese close the moon shame. Female Emperor of Zephyr is invincible. Your Majesty. Kill him. Your Majesty, you are the best. We support you forever." He Xingjiu heard the brainless fans shouting, suddenly more pretentious. She kept a low profile for such a long time, finally can soar to the sky. However, ideals were beautiful, but reality was bone-chilling. Although this fellow's lightning was powerful, the opposite Zhou Hao's spiritual power was much higher than hers. He Xingjiu quickly fell into a disadvantageous position. The brainless fans immediately quieted down. Oh no, their Majesty wouldn't be defeated, right? Zhou Hao saw that Yun Chujiu was obviously no match for her, and his face was filled with pride and disdain. This female Emperor of Zephyr was just as so, and he thought that she would be very powerful. Just as he was thinking about it, he saw that the little girl opposite him had released a purple spirit beast piglet. He was stunned at first, then, he laughed out loud. "Female Emperor of Zephyr, although it is rare for you to be able to summon a spirit beast, but for a spirit beast like you, this is simply a joke." The hardcore fans of the East Foam Kingdom were also somewhat dumbfounded. What the hell was their Majesty releasing? Wasn't their Majesty's spiritual beast too weak? However, they were deeply impressed by the essence of their Majesty's strategy of not losing to others. They all shouted, "Bah! What do you know? Our Majesty's is a godly pig." Exactly. Don't look down on the small size of the godly pig. He'll torture you to death later. Your Majesty, release the pig and bite him. The corner of He Xingjiu's eyes twitched. How come all her subjects had become idiots? This really had nothing to do with her. Although this fellow was cursing in his heart, he still said, 10,000-year-old single pig, torture him to death. Zhou Hao was stunned when he heard He Xingjiu's words. 10,000-year-old single pig? What nonsense was this? This little pig wanted to torture him to death. This was simply nonsense. At this moment, everyone was shocked to discover that the purple little pig had turned black. Its body was rapidly growing larger, and a pair of wings had grown out of its back. Zhou Hao was still in a daze when De Hua sent him flying with a kick. Like a kite with its string cut, Zhou Hao crashed into a large rock and fainted with a choking sound. He Xingjiu immediately pointed at the people of the Li Hate Palace and said heroically, "Who else? Who else? Do any of you still want to come up and court death?" The people of the Li Hate Palace were clearly greatly frightened by De Hua. It was not that De Hua was terrifying, but that they were unable to digest it in a short period of time. How could a spiritual beast actually grow larger? Change its color? Grow wings? The hardcore fans of the East Phoenix country were in an uproar. All sorts of praises were poured into their ears. They almost knelt down and worshipped He Xingjiu as their ancestor. He Xingjiu raised her chin in satisfaction. Yes, this was the feeling, this was the style. She was now the female emperor of the East Phoenix country. Who was she afraid of? She had a killer weapon like a gigolo by her side. Who was she afraid of? If not for the fear of destroying her image, this fellow might have thrown her head back and laughed a few times to express her arrogance. The people from the Li Hen Palace finally came to their senses. Elder Zhu carefully sized up De Hua. Although this spirit beast was a little strange, the female emperor of Zephyr's spirit energy was limited, so this spirit beast was nothing to be afraid of. Elder Zhu frowned. This woman, the female emperor of Zephyr, had a lot of tricks up her sleeves. It was better to end the battle as soon as possible. Therefore, he did not ask anyone else to accept the challenge. Instead, he walked towards He Xinjiu personally. He Xinjia's heart skipped a beat. She could deal with the scum from the Li Hate Palace, but this elder Zhu's spiritual power was much higher than hers. She was not confident that she could win against him. This fellow blinked and snorted coldly, "I won't fight with trash like you. Brother Wuji, I'll leave it to you." Xue Wuji, who was watching the show, Xue Wuji, who had been forced into a corner, saw that He Xinjiu had already moved closer to Di Biming and was acting cute. He could only walk over to Elder Zhu. Elder Zhu did not have much information about Xue Wuji. He only knew that a bewitching and handsome red-robed man had suddenly appeared beside the female emperor of Zephyr. He sized Xue Wuji up. His spiritual power was on par with his, both at the 5th level of psychic power. However, he did not take Xue Wuji seriously. Although their spiritual power was the same, he had much more experience in fighting enemies than him. It would not be a problem to take him down. However, after exchanging blows, Elder Zhu was horrified to discover that although Xue Wuji's spiritual power level was the same as his actual ability was far beyond the 5th level of psychic power. He could not help but secretly complain. Xue Wuji, on the other hand, was free and unrestrained. He thought to himself that it would be a good opportunity for little sister Jiu to see how powerful he was. He did not want to feel that he was the number one person in the world with facial paralysis all day long. However, that facial paralysis was indeed abnormal. He was simply inhuman. Elder Zhu quickly fell into a disadvantageous position. He simply ordered the people behind him to attack together in anger out of embarrassment, hoping to win by relying on numbers. Who would have thought that just as he finished speaking, a white shadow flashed by and Di Biming joined the battle. In the blink of an eye, Elder Zhu was held in Di Biming's hands. He Xinjiu was immediately energized. She held the rolling pin and pointed at the people of the Li Hate Palace. "Hey! Get out of my way, or I'll kill this old bastard." The people of the Li Hate Palace looked at each other. This was completely different from what they had expected. They had thought that with so many people surrounding the people of the East Phoenix Kingdom, they would be able to capture them easily. Who would have thought that Elder Zhu would be held hostage in such a short period of time? The people of the Li Hate Palace turned their gazes to Elder Zhu. Elder Zhu shouted in terror, "Move, move, move." The people of the Li Hate Palace had no choice but to make a path for He Xinjiu and the others to pass through. He Xinjiu held Elder Zhu hostage all the way out of the valley. When they were about to board the flying spirit tool, this fellow raised his staff and smacked Elder Zhu to death. The people of the Li Hate Palace were furious. "Female Emperor Fenghua, didn't we agree that as long as we let you all leave, you would let Elder Zhu go? Why did you kill him?" He Xinjiu curled her lips. "Don't you know that war is all about deception? A bunch of idiots. Go back and tell that palace master of yours not to think that everything will be fine just because he clings tightly to Tower Master Luochen. Sooner or later, I will kill him." After He Xinjiu said those harsh words, she flew away on her flying spirit tool. The people of the Li Hate Palace wanted to chase after her, but when they thought of Di Biming's abnormal spiritual power, they retreated in dejection. Seeing this, He Xinjiu sighed and said faintly, "I'm still too weak. When will I be as powerful as you, Prince Charming? Even if I'm as powerful as Brother Wu Ji, Pan DN0VE1 COM." A certain venerable looked at her indifferently. "Since you know that you're too weak, why don't you come and cultivate?" He Xinjiu. He Xinjiu wished she could slap herself, but she still followed a certain someone into the cabin. "Prince Charming, the heavens and earth have a conscience. It's really not that I'm slacking off or not cultivating properly. You also know that my constitution is quite special. If it weren't for the heavenly lightning striking me, I wouldn't have been able to level up even if I didn't eat or sleep. Hei Xinjiu blinked her eyes, she said sincerely. A certain lord looked at her and said, even if I can't level up, it's still good to consolidate my foundation. It's better than reading a book. Hei Xinjiu, alright, I can't win against you. This fellow pretended to cultivate for a while, and his heart started to grow wild. When he opened his eyes and saw that Di Biming didn't say anything, he took out the 10,000-year-old black iron chain and started to grind the cloud fishing hook. Wu Yun had been kidnapped by her and was probably going to come and take revenge on her soon. She had to hurry up and fix the hook so that she could catch a few more little dark clouds. When this fellow thought about how she could live a life where she could be struck by lightning any time in the future, she immediately smiled with her eyes curved. She wished that Wu Yun would come and take revenge on her right away. When she thought of Wu Yun, this fellow thought of her crow's beak skill again. It had been so long, but she still could not find the trigger point for the crow's beak skill. Why was it sometimes effective and sometimes not? This was different from Xiao Haniu's curse. Xiao Haniu's curse could only be used once a day, and her crow mouth skill could sometimes be used twice a day, and sometimes not even once. What the hell? In the next few days, Hei Xinjiu focused on sharpening the cloud fishing hook. Finally, on this day, this guy's cloud fishing hook was completed. In fact, the process was not complicated at all. The main reason was that the 10,000-year-old mysterious iron was too difficult to get. This guy had a large kitchen knife and a small flame. It was not easy to make a large hook. In order to train her cloud fishing skills, this fellow let little Wu Yun fly around randomly. She squatted at the porthole of the flying spirit tool and swung the 10,000-year-old black iron chain to fish for clouds. This fellow muttered while fishing, this 10,000-year-old black iron chain is too damn heavy. Fortunately, I have enough strength. Otherwise, I would not be able to move it at all. Hearing this fellow's muttering, the corners of Xue Wuji's eyes could not help but twitch violently. Of course it was heavy. The 8 10,000-year-old black iron chains in this guy's hand were connected together. They weighed several thousand kilograms. How could they not be heavy? Hei Xinjiu also found a problem. Since the black iron chains were chains, they were different from fishing rods. They always hung down. If she wanted to catch little Wu Yun, she had to fly higher than little Wu Yun. This was difficult. She would not have a chance to fly higher than Wu Yun. Wouldn't all her previous efforts be wasted? The more he thought about it, the more frustrated he became. His mood fell from heaven to the 18th level of hell. He hatefully summoned little Wu Yun back and returned to his cabin. This guy fiercely threw the 10,000-year-old mysterious iron chain to the ground and cursed, "What the fuck? What 10,000-year-old mysterious iron? Bullshit. It's not even as good as an ordinary bamboo pole." In his anger, this guy accidentally cut the back of his hand with the hook in front of him. Immediately, fresh blood came out. She became even angrier and kicked the 10,000-year-old mysterious iron chain several times. The 10,000-year-old mysterious iron chain didn't do anything, but her foot hurt. She couldn't help but feel sad. She hummed and left the cabin to complain to a certain venerate. Seeing the wound on her hand, the venerate's face immediately darkened. "How did you do it?" Hei Xinjiu felt even more wronged. She threw herself into the venerate's arms and began to cry. A certain being couldn't care less about the seal anymore. He asked anxiously, "What happened? Who hurt you? Were they the idiots in your spirit beast bag? Xiao Haniu, Xiao Hei, Cat Cub, who did they offend? How did they become the suspects all of a sudden?" "Alright, you're right if you're strong. Just bear with it." In fact, a certain entity was not targeting them. It was mainly because a certain entity thought that other than him and Yun Chujiu, there were only Xue Wuji and Enfeng on the flying spirit tool. Naturally, they would not hurt Hei Xinjiu. In that case, the targets of suspicion would naturally be the dumb cuties. He Xinjiu hummed and said, they didn't do it. It was the damn cloud fishing hook. A certain lord was dumbfounded. Wasn't the cloud fishing hook used to catch little Wu Yun? Why did it hurt itself? Seeing the lord's blank face, He Xinjiu sobbed and told him what had happened. Then, she said angrily, I spent so much time and effort, but in the end, I found that the damn 10,000-year-old black iron chain couldn't be used as a fishing rod at all. How can I hold my breath? What's worse is that I cut myself. I'm so miserable. A certain Jiu's face was stiff. How did she get the cut on her hand like that? A certain Jiu, who was amused, suddenly froze. She looked down and saw that a certain Jiu had put her injured hand on his lips. Prince Charming, come. Don't waste it. Drink all the blood. A certain Jiu's expression suddenly turned cold. She pinched He Xinjiu's chin and said word by word, I've said that I won't die, and I won't drink your blood again. Have you forgotten? He Xinjiu sensed that a certain Jiu was a little displeased. She pouted and said, I'm just afraid that it'll be wasted. If you don't want to drink it, then don't drink it. What a disgrace. A certain Jiu wanted to explain, but she didn't know where to start. Therefore, she didn't say anything. She took out some hemostatic powder from her storage ring and sprinkled it on a certain Jiu's wound. In fact, it was fine even if she didn't sprinkle it. Because in just a short while, a certain Jiu's wound had already healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. He Xinjiu pouted and glared at a certain Jiu. Then, she said angrily, you don't have to pretend to be kind. I'm leaving. A certain venerable, what kind of madness was this? Actually, He Xinjiu was completely venting her anger. She was in a terrible mood now. She had been busy for so long and had placed so much hope on it, but in the end, it was all for naught. How could she not hold her breath? When this fellow returned to the cabin and saw the black iron chain on the ground, he was instantly infuriated. However, this thing was extremely hard. If she were to kick it, she would be asking for trouble. The guy blinked his eyes. Humph. Even if he couldn't do anything to it, he had to vent his anger. Therefore, the guy summoned a small flame and burned the black iron chains. As he burned them, he cursed, trash. What 10,000-year-old black iron? Bah! It's not even as good as an ordinary fishing rod. You trash can only be used to tie demon beasts. Those demon beasts are also weak. They were actually trapped by you. If I knew you were such a trash, I wouldn't have spent so much effort to connect the chains together. What a waste of time. After cursing for hundreds of times, He Xinjiu finally felt relieved. However, even though the 10,000-year-old mysterious iron chain had been burned for a long time, there was no change. The guy had no choice but to put it into his storage ring and ignore it. A few days later, the flying spiritual artifact finally arrived in the Jun Tian kingdom. He Xinjiu did not return to the capital directly. Instead, she settled down at the border and was ready to wait for Emperor Jing Lai and the others to bring an army over. Half a month later, the Yutian kingdom and the other 8 kingdoms had indeed sent an army together and led the troops to the Jun Tian kingdom's border. He Xinjiu greeted Emperor Jing Lai and the others with a smile. Then, she said, isn't it great to have friends come from afar? It doesn't matter if we are enemies or friends in the future. After all, we have known each other for a while. Come, let's have a feast and drink to our heart's content under the sky. Emperor Jing Lai and the others still hadn't made up their minds on whether they should ally with the East Phoenix Kingdom or follow the arrangements of the Lihan Palace and destroy the East Phoenix Kingdom. Therefore, they didn't reject Empress Jiu's suggestion. After all, in this open space under the watchful eyes of the public, she didn't dare to do anything. He Xinjiu looked at the wine cup in a certain honored lattice hand with envy. She took a sip of tea without any taste and said, Your Majesties, I know that you are also very conflicted and have a hard time making a decision. After all, you carry the legacy of your ancestors and the expectations of your subjects. The burden on your shoulders is too heavy. Hearing He Xinjia's words, Jing Lidi and the others almost cried. Everyone thought that the emperor was free and unfettered, but in fact, only they knew the bitterness inside. They had to go to court before dawn, and if they were delayed for even a day, they would be called stupid. Which imperial concubine couldn't be taken care of? Otherwise, the families behind them would cause trouble. There was no need to mention the subjects. If there was any disturbance, any natural or man-made disaster would be attributed to them. Not to mention, there was also the great mountain of the Lihen Palace. He Xinjiu saw the change in the expressions of Emperor Jing Lai and the others. She sighed. Alas, in fact, we are all in the same boat. Therefore, even if you submit to the Lihen Palace's arrangement to destroy our East Phoenix Kingdom, I will not blame you. After all, you have no choice. Hearing Yun Chujia's sincere words, Emperor Jing Lai and the others immediately felt a little embarrassed, but they didn't know how to explain it. After all, their army was already behind them. Your Majesties, let me say something. Even if your army comes to the border, I won't worry about my own safety. After all, my fiancé is a great weapon that can destroy heaven and earth. None of you can do anything to me. At worst, my husband and I will just wander around the world and be at ease. However, you might not be able to escape unscathed by then. They have plotted for so many years. I'm afraid that it's time to close the net. Destroying our East Phoenix Kingdom is just the beginning. None of your 8 kingdoms will be able to escape. If you want to escape the fate of having your kingdoms destroyed, you only have one choice, and that is to form an alliance with me. Otherwise, your end will be very miserable. Emperor Jing Lai and the others looked at each other in silence. They admitted that what Yun Chujiu said made some sense, but her fiancé and her evil schemes were not enough to move them. This was a life-and-death decision, so they naturally wouldn't make it easily. He Xinjiu blinked her eyes and continued, have you ever thought about where the people of the Lihen Palace come from? Jing Lai Di said with some trepidation, this. I've thought about this question before. It's highly likely that they are from the northern continent. Yun Chujiu nodded. You're right. According to the information I have, the Lihen Palace is most likely a puppet of the 9 pavilions of the northern continent. Then here comes the problem. Since the 9 pavilions have already begun to take action, do you think they will be at ease letting you continue to govern? The 9 pavilions' ambition is to rule the northern and southern continents. The first step is to first rule the southern continent and then accumulate power to rule the northern continent. Therefore, you are destined to be sacrificial victims. There is only one ending, and that is death. A certain venerable glanced at He Xinjiu indifferently. The 9-layered pavilion wanted to rule the northern and southern continents. This fellow didn't even blink when he lied. However, he frowned. It wasn't impossible. Lan Luochen had always been an extremely ambitious person. It was likely that his goal was to rule the northern and southern continents, just as Little Jiu had said. Emperor Jing Lai and the others knew very little about the situation in the northern continent. After being tricked by He Xinjiu, cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that there was no way out. However, they still had doubts. Although the Lihen Palace had ulterior motives, this Empress Fenghua might not have any good intentions. Furthermore, how could she possibly go against the Lihen Palace? Just as the atmosphere was in a stalemate, the sky suddenly darkened. Everyone was puzzled. It was already morning, so how could the sky turn dark? Everyone raised their heads and looked up. They saw a large patch of Wu Yun gathering from all directions with a thunderous momentum. Almost at the same time, everyone was suppressed by the immense pressure. Their legs trembled slightly, and they even found it difficult to speak. Di Baiming's brows were tightly knitted together. With such a big stance, could it be that they were here to seek revenge on Little Nine? This time, Wu Yun was coming menacingly. He was afraid that it would not be good. The 2 bones in his hands had already been used by him. In a while, he would not be able to help even if he wanted to. Di Baiming's hands tightened in his sleeves. After dealing with the Lihan Palace, he had to start doing some things. Otherwise, he would not be able to protect Little Nine's safety. He Xinjiu knew better than anyone that these Wu Yun were coming for her. She felt so wronged. It was all the fault of those damn 10,000-year-old black iron chains. Otherwise, she would have been able to catch a few little Wu Yun and anger those old Wu Yun to death. This guy said shamelessly to Emperor Jing Lai and the others, "You have eaten and drank from me. You can't possibly not show your gratitude, right? Come, lend me all your flying spiritual artifacts. I have great use for them." Jing Lai Di and the others felt as if their hearts were going to explode. Were they the ones who wanted to eat and drink? She was the one who had sent the invitation, okay? And now she was asking for a reward. She was really shameless. And, borrow? She was clearly robbing them by force, okay? However, they were restrained by Wu Yun's pressure at the moment, and their movements were very slow, not to mention fighting with their spiritual power. The girl opposite them and her fiancé were completely fine. They could only be slaughtered by others now. Therefore, Emperor Jing Lai and the others had no choice but to lend a few flying spiritual weapons to He Xinjiu. Although He Xinjiu was not very satisfied, she did not want to go too far. She said with a smile, "Thank you, Your Majesties. At this moment, I won't hide anything from you. The dark clouds in the sky are all my little Wu Yun's relatives. They are here to visit." Xue Wuji almost laughed out loud. "Little ninth sister, can you talk more nonsense? Visit their relatives? They are clearly here to seek revenge on you, okay?" Emperor Jing Lai and the others' faces were stiff. Wu Yun came to visit her relatives. Wu Yun came to strike people, okay? Was she bullying them because they were uncultured? They looked at Empress Jiao with a complicated expression. This little girl wouldn't be struck to death by heavenly lightning, right? If that was the case, they didn't have to hesitate anymore. They could only obey the Lihan Palace's order to destroy the East Phoenix Kingdom. At this moment, Wu Yun had already approached them. He Xinjiu waved her claws and said, "Well, they'll bring little Wu Yun to see my relatives first. You guys can go ahead." He Xinjiu said as she ran outside to prevent the heavenly lightning from striking down and implicating the innocent. Emperor Jing Lai and the others wanted to leave, but it was very difficult to move under the immense pressure, let alone return to their own base. They could only sit down embarrassedly and stretch their necks to look at He Xinjius shrinking back. Di Baiming was worried and followed He Xinjiu from afar. He Xinjiu thought to herself as she ran. This time, it was not going to be easy. There were 8 dark clouds coming this time. They were trying to strike her to death. It was unlikely that she could withstand them with only her flying spiritual artifact. Unless she could find a place to hide from the heavenly lightning. However, there was no such existence within a radius of several thousand li. Could it be that she could only watch as she was struck to death? Thinking of this fellow was extremely resentful of the cloud fishing rod that had died prematurely. If it was not for the 10,000-year-old black iron chain that was not strong enough, what was there to be afraid of? How many dark clouds had been fished over by it? Let's see how they will continue to show off. At this moment, the dark clouds in the sky had already caught up with He Xinjiu. Wu Yun No. 1, the unlucky fellow who had been kidnapped by He Xinjiu, glared fiercely at He Xinjiu. "Damn girl, you're dead meat this time. With 8 dark clouds gathered together, not to mention a damn girl like you, even the mighty figures of the higher continent would not be able to resist. You would only have a dead end." The more Wu Yun No. 1 thought about it, the more excited he became. The entire cloud started to tremble. The other 7 dark clouds looked at the little girl below with disdain. With just this fellow, was there a need for them to act together? That trash, number one, actually let this little girl steal a cloud wing. It was really embarrassing. Therefore, when Wuyan number one gave the order to strike, the 7 dark clouds struck with indifference. He Xinjiu saw that the heavenly lightning was already striking down, so she decided not to run anymore. She sat cross-legged on the ground and absorbed the lightning that kept striking down. He Xinjiu was quite surprised. It seemed that the strength of the heavenly lightning was very ordinary. Could it be that the 7 dark clouds that came to help Wu Yun were newbies? Soon, an hour passed. The 7 dark clouds that came to help looked at He Xinjiu in surprise. After striking for so long, nothing happened. It seemed that number one was not lying. This little girl was indeed a disaster. Therefore, the 7 dark clouds stopped being perfunctory and started hacking at He Xinjiu with all their might. This time, He Xinjiu could not hold on any longer. The lightning power of the 8 dark clouds was not a joke. It was only this pervert. If it were an ordinary person, they would have been hacked into ashes in an instant. He Xinjiu blinked her eyes. Her spiritual power was not enough to supplement her intelligence. Now, she could only rely on her wits. Therefore, this guy stretched his neck and shouted, "Hey, wait a minute. Let's pause for a moment. I have something important to say." Wu Yun number one knew that this guy was full of bad ideas, but the other 7 flowers did not know. They all stopped the lightning strikes, wanting to hear what He Xinjiu had to say. Seeing this, Wu Yun number one had no choice but to stop the lightning strikes. A sense of foreboding rose in his heart. He Xinjiu said obsequiously, "It's my great honor to be able to meet all the lords Wu Yun today. My little heart has been beating non-stop. I'm afraid that I'm the only one who can be struck by 8 dark clouds at the same time. This is a blessing that I will never be able to recover from in 8 lifetimes. The imposing aura and thunderous aura of all the lords Wu Yun make people submit from the bottom of their hearts. I will die without regrets if I can see such a scene before I die." Wu Yun number one cursed in his heart. "Bah! Shameless! Don't play this trick. If your little heart doesn't beat, you'll be fucking dead." Unfortunately, the other 7 Wu Yun had never seen such a trick before. Hearing He Xinjiu's heartfelt praise, all of them trembled with pride. It had to be said that although this little girl was a scourge, she still knew how to talk. Wu Yun number one trembled a few times in dissatisfaction, indicating for the 7 dark clouds to continue hacking. However, the 7 dark clouds had never heard such a vivid praise. Not only did they not help Wu Yun number one to hack, they even told it not to hack first, in order to not delay the little girl's words. Wu Yun number one was so angry. How was the helper it found? It was clearly a burden. He Xinjiu narrowed her eyes. It seemed that both people and Yun liked to hear good words. In any case, it was a good opportunity for her to sort out the brutal power of lightning in her body. Therefore, the guy said with a smile, "I don't know the distinguished names of all of you, Lord Wu Yun, but I see that there are 7 of you besides the previous one. Why don't I call you by the rainbow color?" Wu Yun number one was so angry that it was twitching. Why was it eliminated? Did it not want a name? Ah, no. It did not care about the name given by the girl. It just did not feel good to be treated differently, okay? The other 7 were very happy. Rainbow color. It sounded very high and mighty, didn't it? Lord Qi, Lord Orange, Lord Huang, Lord Green, Lord Blue, Lord Purple, Little Jiu salutes you. He Xinjiu bowed to them in a proper manner. The 7 rainbow clouds that had just come out of the oven trembled with pride. Previously, they only had numerical code names. Who would have thought that from now on, they would also have names? Moreover, it was a rather cool rainbow color. Just thinking about it made them a little excited. Wu Yun number 1 snorted in his heart. A bunch of idiots. That little girl was a devil that ate people without spitting out their bones. There was no need for you all to cry. Following that, He Xinjiu rambled on with a bunch of flattery, causing the 7 rainbow clouds to be unable to find Bei, not to mention helping Wu Yun number 1 strike He Xinjiu. Wu Yun number 1 was so angry. He simply ignored them and continued to hack at He Xinjiu. Jealousy. It's pure jealousy. Rainbow Cloud Lords, it can't stand to see you well. He Xinjiu shamelessly tried to sow discord. The 7 rainbow clouds were quite dissatisfied with Wu Yun number 1. They had asked it not to split the rainbow clouds, so why didn't it listen? Could it be that it couldn't stand to see them happy? If it had known this would happen, it wouldn't have come to help it. No wonder the little girl had stolen a cloud wing. Such a fool deserved it. Therefore, the 7 rainbow clouds floated below Wu Yun number 1, and all the lightning from Wu Yun number 1 struck the 7 rainbow clouds. Wu Yun number 1 almost gasped. How was this a helper? They were clearly enemies. He Xinjiu almost laughed out loud. These 7 rainbow clouds were really naive and innocent. Thus, this fellow tried even harder to curry favor with her, just short of flying up to the sky to hug her thigh. While she was trying to curry favor, on the other side, Emperor Jing Lai and the others were staring in He Xinjiu's direction with their mouths agape. They naturally couldn't hear what He Xinjiu said, but they had clearly seen the situation of the Wu Yun. Oh my God! Even after 8 dark clouds struck for such a long time, they still could not kill the female emperor of Fenghua. Also, who could tell them why those 7 dark clouds were helping that little girl resist the heavenly lightning? Were they crazy? Or did Wu Yun start an internal conflict? Di Baiming, who was not far away, heard everything clearly. His eyes could not help but reveal a helpless and doting look. It had to be said that little Jiu's mouth had saved her countless times. It was just that he did not know if these silly clouds would always be kept in the dark. Wu Yun number 1 could not take it anymore. He used Wu Yun's unique method to shout, "Don't forget that our mission this time is to kill this scourge below. Moreover, time is limited. After all, you have other missions to carry out. If you continue to cause trouble, be careful not to be punished by Tian Dao." When the 7 rainbow clouds heard Wu Yun number 1's words, they instantly wilted. They could only reluctantly continue attacking He Xinjiu with Wu Yun number 1. Although it would be a pity if this sweet-mouthed little girl died, if Tian Dao was dissatisfied, he might kill them. Therefore, it was better to carry out the mission obediently. He Xinjia's heart tightened when she saw Wu Yun's sudden attack. She reckoned that no matter how sweet words she said, it would be useless. She could only rely on herself. Therefore, this guy started to release Xiao Hanio, Xiao Mogu, and De Hua. The 7 rainbow clouds were stunned, especially when they saw De Hua who had turned black. Oh my, there was such a perverted spiritual beast in this world. A spiritual beast that could devour lightning? He Xinjiu could only hold on for less than an hour, so she had to take the flying spiritual device to walk the clouds. Although this method was not bad, the heavenly lightning that came from the 8 Wu Yun was too powerful. A flying spiritual device could not last for long, and 10 flying spiritual devices could only last for 15 minutes. The flying spiritual devices in He Xinjia's storage ring soon ran out. He Xinjiu had no choice but to call out little Wu Yun and let it help carry her for a while. When the 7 rainbow clouds saw little Wu Yun, they were stunned at first, then they began to mock Wu Yun number 1. It was so stupid. Its cloud wings were actually refined by the little girl. It was really embarrassing. Wu Yun number 1 suddenly became even darker. It risked its life to hack at little Wu Yun, wishing that it could immediately chop little Wu Yun into pieces. Wu Yun soon reached its saturation state. Just as He Xinjiu was about to put it into her storage ring. She heard a loud voice from afar, "Little Jiu, let Wu Yun carry you. After it consumes the power of lightning, it can help you resist the heavenly lightning again." He Xinjiu slapped her thigh. That's right. Why didn't she think of that? She was really smart and muddle-headed, thanks to the gigolo. Therefore, this fellow let little Wu Yun carry her and began to run wildly. Wu Yun #1 was so angry that he almost fainted when he saw his cloud wings carrying He Xinjiu everywhere. This was his cloud wings. Now, it had become the smelly girl's flying spirit tool. It was a great humiliation. After a while, when little Wu Yun's lightning power was about to be exhausted, He Xinjiu let it land on the ground and helped her resist the heavenly lightning while charging it. Little Wu Yun had absorbed enough lightning and once again carried He Xinjiu on her back. He Xinjiu sat on little Wu Yun, feeling extremely happy. With such an awesome cheat like little Wu Yun, did it mean that she could walk the cloud indefinitely? Little thing, not to mention 8 black clouds, she was not afraid of even 18 black clouds. Pan de N0ve1 compared to Wu Yun's good mood, Wu Yun #1 was furious. How could he bully the clouds like this? Was there anything worse than using his cloud wings to deal with them? As time passed, the 7 rainbow clouds became anxious. They had other missions and had been delayed for a long time. They had to finish the battle as soon as possible. Therefore, the 8 dark clouds used their full strength and hacked at He Xinjiu and Wu Yun. After a while, Wu Yun could not hold on anymore. Although it could release lightning and then absorb it, there was a limit. Finally, it collapsed on the ground and could not fly anymore. He Xinjiu could only put Wu Yun into her storage ring and hold on by herself. The meridians in her body were about to explode at any moment. This fellow could not help but complain in his heart. It's over. This time, she was most likely going to die. She had not slept with the gigolo, she had not found her biological parents, and she had not given birth to the little monkey. She really did not want to die. A moment later, blood began to seep out from her body, and her spiritual sense slowly became a little blurry. At this moment, the heavenly lightning that kept striking her body stopped. She raised her head with great effort and saw Di Biming, who was wearing a white robe, forming seals and protecting her with his spiritual energy. Yun Chujiu did not say anything to chase Di Biming away. She knew that no matter what she said, the gigolo would not abandon her. She might as well use this time to say a few words of truth. He Xinjiu looked at a certain god lovingly and shouted, "My idol, the biggest regret in my life is that I can't sleep with you." A certain god, Wu Yun #1, the 7 rainbow clouds, Di Biming looked at her speechlessly and said indifferently, "No need to regret. You can continue sleeping in your next life." The lightning paused for a moment and then struck down fiercely. Although they usually did not strike the wrong target, they would not show mercy since this man came to seek his own death. The thunder kept striking down. Although Di Biming's spiritual power was much higher than He Xinjiu's, he was still a man of flesh and blood after all. His spotless white clothes were soon dyed red with blood, but he still protected Yun Chujiu firmly. Yun Chujiu laughed softly, but there were tears flowing out of the corners of her eyes. "Prince Charming, not only can we not have sex when we are together, but I also caused you to be injured and struck by the thunder time and time again. Do you regret falling in love with me?" Di Biming could no longer stand. He was kneeling on the ground, but he was still making seals slowly and firmly. Hearing Yun Chujiu's words, the corner of his lips curled up. No regrets. Yun Chujiu's face was full of tears, but her smile was even more brilliant. She raised her head and said to the sky, "Damn the heavens. Strike. If you have the ability, kill me today. Otherwise, I don't care about the Tian Dao or the laws, I will definitely make this world change." As Yun Chujiu said that, she suddenly stood up and held up her hands to protect Di Biming. Di Biming was about to say something when Yun Chujiu bent down and covered Di Biming's lips with blood. Wu Yun in the sky was so angry. At this time, that stupid girl actually played the kissing game. Shameless. Strike her. Kill her. A series of heavenly lightning struck Yun Chujio's body, but Yun Chujio did not seem to hear it. She was still lingering with Di Biming's lips and teeth. The seal in Di Biming's body instantly exploded. His limbs and bones were filled with pain, and almost instantly, his entire body was covered with a layer of solid ice. Yun Chujio could not help but smile bitterly. The god really could not bear to see them. Pan de N0ve1. It was impossible to kiss them before death, but this was good too. At least the pretty boy's life could be saved. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio moved to the side with difficulty. She wanted to attract the heavenly lightning to the other side so that it would not strike Di Biming. However, this guy suddenly realized that the solid ice on Di Biming's body was like armor. It actually protected Di Biming from the heavenly lightning by accident. Hey Shinjo, this guy was stunned for a moment, and then he shamelessly lay down on a certain venerate. He mumbled, "Prince Charming, I didn't expect your cold poison to have such a use. Don't reseal it now. Help me carry the lightning and bear the pain. It's not a big deal." A certain venerate, what happened to love being stronger than gold? Didn't he say that they would live and die together? Was it really good for him to do that? The heavenly lightning struck Di Biming's body continuously. To be exact, it struck the hard ice continuously. The hard ice melted continuously and new hard ice was formed. The evaporated water vapor turned into mist. The deep pit where the two of them were in now looked like a fairyland. Hei Shinjo took a moment to recover. The wounds on her body healed quickly. She was in a good mood now. "Prince Charming, I finally understand now. In this world, there are no absolute good or bad things. Just like your cold poison, it's usually so annoying. At the critical moment, it can actually save our lives. How amazing is that?" Di Biming endured the bone-piercing pain and lightly agreed. No matter what, as long as he could save little Joe's life, he was willing to endure even if the pain was 10,000 times more painful. Hei Shinjo was afraid that a certain honored guest would be unable to bear the pain and faint, so she kept blabbering on and on, trying to find something to say. In the beginning, Di Biming briefly agreed, but as the cold poison took effect, he finally fainted. Yun Chujie's heart ached, and her heart was filled with hatred towards Tian Dao and Wu Yun. She did not know how long the ice on Di Biming's body could last. She hoped that she could turn black. If that was the case, she might be able to withstand the heavenly lightning and not need the gigolo to protect her. However, no matter how angry she was, there was still no change. This guy was so angry. De Hua could turn black just by saying, 10,000-year-old single dog. Why was it so difficult for her to turn black? This guy thought of the great void mirror that had been sleeping for a long time. Damn that little Jingjing. If it did not sleep, it could have taken her into the great void mystic realm. How could there be such a thing? She thought of the cloud fishing hook that had died prematurely, and was even more furious. If it could be as useful as the fishing rod, she could have sat on the little Wu Yun to fish for the clouds. Thinking of the cloud fishing hook, this fellow took out the cloud fishing hook desperately. However, when he saw the cloud fishing hook, this fellow was dumbfounded. Was this the cloud fishing hook that she had personally made? The body of the rod was pitch black and transparent. At the top of the rod was a hook that emitted a cold light. The black iron chain had actually become a fishing rod. Hei Shinjo held the freshly made cloud fishing rod in her hand and realized that it had become very light. What was going on? However, no matter what, with the cloud fishing rod, she had a weapon for revenge. Hei Shinjo summoned little Wu Yun out. After a short rest, little Wu Yun had already recovered a little. Little Wu Yun, whether we can live or not depends on this. In a while, Try your best to get close to one of the dark clouds. Master, I will chop off a few to accompany you. Little Wu Yun also knew that if He Xinjiu died, it would not be able to live either. Therefore, it trembled, indicating that it understood. He Xinjiu looked at the cloud fishing rod in her hand again. Everything was fine except that it was a little short. It seemed that she had to get close to the dark clouds to have a chance of winning. This fellow looked at Di Biming, who had passed out. Then, he sat on the little Wu Yun and rushed towards a dark cloud in the sky. Coincidentally, the one closest to her was Wu Yun number 1. It saw He Xinjiu holding a black hook in her hand and riding on the little Wu Yun as she rushed up. It was immediately frightened. This damn little girl wanted to steal its cloud wings again. Wu Yun quickly asked the other 7 rainbow clouds to help it hack at the small black cloud, in case Yun Chujiu got her way. The 7 rainbow clouds did not think much of the cloud fishing rod in He Xinjiu's hand. As long as they were struck by lightning, the hook would turn into ashes, let alone steal the cloud wings. However, their crackling attacks did not cause any damage to the cloud fishing rod. Instead, they were getting closer and closer to Wu Yun number 1. Wu Yun number 1 roared in exasperation, "Are you stupid? If you can't hack the hook, can't you hack the little Wu Yun, who is a traitor?" The 7 rainbow clouds thought that Wu Yun was right. As long as the little Wu Yun was broken, the little girl would not be able to fish the cloud. Therefore, they hacked at the little Wu Yun. The little Wu Yun had not recovered from the shock. After being hacked, she could not help but start to fall. He Xinjiu clenched her teeth in anxiety. She was so close to catching Wu Yun number 1. Was all her previous efforts going to waste? In his anxiety, he mumbled, "It would be great if the cloud fishing rod was longer. Even if it were 10 feet longer, I would be able to catch that damn Wu Yun." As soon as he finished his sentence, the cloud fishing rod suddenly grew a lot longer and hooked Wu Yun number 1 firmly. Wu Yun number 1 was dumbfounded. What the hell was this thing? Not only was it not afraid of being struck by lightning, but it could also grow longer. This really took its old life. If it wanted to escape, it could only give up on the cloud wing that was hooked onto it. However, once it gave up on the cloud wing, it would definitely be kidnapped by that stinky girl. Then, would it still want to live? Just as Wu Yun number 1 was hesitating, he saw He Xinjiu already climbing up along the cloud fishing rod. Her eyes were filled with sinister intent. It was obvious that she was going to personally chop down the cloud. Wu Yun number 1 was so scared that he shivered. He quickly called the other 7 rainbow clouds to chop He Xinjiu with all their might. Unfortunately, the resentment in He Xinjiu's heart was too strong. Even though blood was oozing out from her body, she continued climbing up. Finally, she reached Wu Yun number 1. The guy took out his big kitchen knife and hacked at her fiercely. While slashing, he mumbled, "Damn it. This slash is for the pretty boy, this slash is for Xiao Hanio. This slash is for Xiao Mogu. This slash is for Xiao Wu Yun." As He Xinjiu hacked, she stuffed Wu Yun into her storage ring. The blood on her body dripped onto Wu Yun continuously. Then, Wu Yun number 1 was stunned to discover that the cloud wing that was hooked on the hook had actually taken the initiative to break away from its control. In other words, it had mutinied. Just as He Xinjiu was happily hacking away, the cloud wing broke away from Wu Yun number 1 and carried He Xinjiu as it floated towards little Wu Yun. The 2 cloud wings quickly fused together. Yun Chujia's spiritual sense transmitted Wu Yun's happy mood, as if, she had eaten her fill. He Xinjiu did not have time to think about it. She directed Wu Yun to approach Wu Yun number 1 once again, preparing to catch a few more little Wu Yun. Wu Yun number 1 was scared silly. Oh God! Why did its cloud wings suddenly betray her? If that wretched girl were to come any closer, wouldn't it lose its cloud wings? The other 7 rainbow clouds were also shocked. They had watched the entire process from the sidelines. This little girl had actually taken a cloud wing so easily. She had only slashed a few times. Why did the entire cloud wing betray her? Wuyan number 1 couldn't care less about whether it was slashed or not. It had a premonition that if that little devil caught up to it, it wouldn't be able to keep a single cloud wing. Thus, Wuyan number 1 flew away with a swoosh. He Xinjiu frowned and looked at the 7 rainbow clouds. Little Red Chi, Little Orange Cheng, come, we have to give each other a gift on our first meeting. You guys can give me a little Wu Yun from Yi Yun. The 7 rainbow clouds twitched in anger. A gift for their first meeting. Give you a little Wu Yun. Dream on. However, when they thought of what they had seen just now, they did not dare to deal with He Xinjiu any longer. They all fled with a swoosh. He Xinjiu chased them for a while but failed to catch up. She was so angry that she cursed with her hands on her hips, if you have the ability, don't ever attack me. Otherwise, I'll make you run for your lives. The 8 Wu Yun could not wait to hug each other and cry. After chopping down so many people for so many years, this was the first time that they had not only failed to chop someone to death, but they had also been abducted by Yun Yi. They simply could not live anymore. The 7 rainbow clouds silently decided in their hearts that they would not come and chop this little devil down even if they were to talk about flowers in the future. Otherwise, if Yun Yi was abducted by her, they would really run for their lives. After He Xinjiu warned the 8 Wu Yun, she flew back to the deep pit. Di Baiming had already woken up and was sitting cross-legged in meditation. Prince Charming, I scared Wu Yun away. You can seal the 7 emotions and 6 desires now. He Xinjiu said as she stared at a certain god's beautiful face with regret. Once the seal was resealed, she could neither kiss nor touch him. What a pity. Since Di Baiming needed some time to reseal it, this guy simply took the cloud fishing hook and began to think. How did it suddenly become like this? This guy thought about it carefully. Previously, the cloud fishing hook had cut her hand. Then, in order to vent her anger, she used a small flame to burn the cloud fishing hook for a long time. Was this equivalent to refining a weapon? However, she did not beat it. How did it become the cloud fishing rod that she wanted? This fellow thought about it for a long time but still could not figure it out, so she decided not to think about it. Anyway, as long as the result was good, it would be fine. The next time the damn Wu Yun attacked her again, she would fish a few more small Wu Yun for fun. Thinking of the small Wu Yun, He Xinjiu looked at the small Wu Yun that had grown a size. Other than growing bigger, little Wu Yun did not change much. However, He Xinjiu felt that since she had grown bigger, she could absorb the power of lightning faster. She was getting closer to the day when she could be self-sufficient in lightning. He Xinjiu thought about the bright future and smiled like a flower. If her little Wu Yun was as awesome as the big Wu Yun in the sky, she could cultivate at any time. Moreover, who would dare to provoke her? Kill him. As for the little Wu Yun leaving the big Wu Yun after a few cuts, this fellow did not take it to heart. It was probably the big Wu Yun who abandoned the pawn to protect the cart. Just as this guy's thoughts were running wild, a certain someone opened his eyes. However, the eyes that were originally warm were now filled with coldness. It seemed to be even colder than the previous few times. He Xinjiu was not surprised by this. After all, even if it was a 10,000-year-old ice, she could melt it with a few touches. Prince Charming, since you have sealed it, let's go back to the camp. He Xinjiu said with a smile. Without even looking at her, a certain someone flew out of the deep pit and jumped towards the camp without even looking back. He Xinjiu, fuck, he just kissed her and now he didn't want to admit his mistake. He was just trying his best to protect me. How did he turn into an ingrate in such a short time? However, He Xinjiu also knew that this was the result of the seal. It was useless even if she banged her head against the wall in anger. Therefore, this guy summoned little Wu Yun and sat on the little Wu Yun, chasing after Di beaming happily. Little Wu Yun's speed was very fast. A moment later, he caught up with a certain god. He Xinjiu giggled at a certain god. Prince Charming, how is it? No matter how fast you run, you're still faster than my little Wu Yun. Come up and sit for a while. Experience the feeling of riding on the clouds and mist. A certain god finally raised his head and looked at He Xinjiu. He opened his thin lips and said indifferently, no need. He Xinjiu curled her lips. She could not stand his cold and arrogant manner, therefore, she blinked and said, Prince Charming, your lips were swollen by my bite just now. Aren't you going to deal with it? If we return to the camp, I'm afraid that people will gossip about us. A certain someone stumbled and his hand could not help but touch his lips, but he did not notice anything strange. Just as he was puzzled, he heard He Xinjiu's clear laughter, I'm lying to you. My little fool. Before a certain someone could say anything, he saw He Xinjiu fly away on the little Wu Yun, leaving behind a string of silver bell-like laughter. A certain someone felt inexplicably irritated, and his face turned even colder. He leaped forward like a ghost. While He Xinjiu was sitting on the little Wu Yun, her scalp went numb. Then, she saw a flying sword beside her. Standing on it was a certain lord with a cold face. He Xinjiu laughed dryly and waved her claws. Prince Charming, do you want to sit on my little Wu Yun? The certain lord did not say a word. The cold air on his body made the little Wu Yun tremble a few times and almost threw He Xinjiu down. He Xinjiu quickly smoothed her hair, with a flattering face, she said, Prince Charming, what should I do? I find that I love you more and more. I can't help but love you. Especially now that you are as cold as ice. You are always pulling my heartstrings, nonsense. After saying that, a certain lord quickly rode his sword and left. However, no matter how one looked at it, it seemed that he was running away. He Xinjiu whistled complacently. Little fellow, no matter what you become, you will never be able to escape from me. He Xinjiu flew to the camp on Wu Yun. All the subjects of the East Phoenix Kingdom kneeled on the ground and cheered like a tsunami. Female Emperor of Zephyr's beauty is unparalleled in the world. Female Emperor of Zephyr's beauty is like a sinking fish, falling geese, closing the moon and embarrassing the flowers. Female Emperor of Zephyr's beauty is invincible. He Xinjiu looked at the crowd with satisfaction. This feeling of acting cool was really satisfying. This fellow pretended to be calm and waved his hand. All of you, get up. I still have guests here. Only then did Prime Minister Sima and the others stand up one after another. He Xinjiu directed little Wu Yun to land on the ground and then looked at Emperor Jing Lai and the others. Emperor Jing Lai and the others were so frightened by the cheers of the subjects of the East Phoenix Kingdom that their legs went soft. They were still somewhat envious and jealous. Why had their subjects never been so enthusiastic before? Of course, what made their hearts tremble even more was what had happened earlier. The lightning had struck for a whole day and night, and in the end, they were scared away by this little girl. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed that there was someone in the world who could scare Wu Yun away. Moreover, this little girl had actually come back on a dark cloud. It was simply too frightening. Emperor Jing Lai and the others had been hesitating before whether to join the Lihan Palace or form an alliance with the East Phoenix Kingdom. Now, they had suddenly decided to form an alliance with the East Phoenix Kingdom. After all, no matter how terrifying the Lihan Palace was, how could it be as terrifying as Wu Yun? This little girl could even scare off Wu Yun, so why would she be afraid of a mere Lihan Palace? Immediately, Emperor Jing Lai and the others expressed their intention to form an alliance with He Xinjiu. He Xinjiu didn't take advantage of the situation and smilingly signed an alliance agreement with Emperor Jing Lai and the others. Your Majesties, the most important thing now isn't to gather an army to destroy the Lihan Palace. We need to do two things first, Empress Jiu said with a smile. Emperor Jing Lai and the others were puzzled. What was more important than destroying the Lihan Palace? The corners of Empress Jiu's mouth curled up. The first thing is to create public opinion. The Lihan Palace relies on the national advisors of the various countries to control the direction of public opinion. If you don't create public opinion that is in your favor, once the war starts, I'm afraid that there will be chaos in the country. As for how to create public opinion, it's very simple. You can say whatever you want to discuss the Lihan Palace. After all, you have those children in your hands, so you aren't afraid of being questioned. As for the second matter, once the public opinion is more or less guided, you can start to make an example out of the imperial advisors of the various countries. Those who are obedient can be kept, and those who are not can be killed directly. Jing Lai Di and the others were stunned when they heard this. To be fair, they had long disliked those imperial advisors. Sometimes, those imperial advisors had even higher prestige than the country emperors like them. They were simply depressed to the extreme. Your Majesty Fenghua, you said that the first matter is easy to handle, but the second matter is a little difficult to handle. Those imperial advisors have a secret method to communicate with the sacred beasts of the various countries. If they are provoked, will there be any trouble? Emperor Jing Lai said somewhat apprehensively. Yun Chujiu laughed lightly. Perhaps some people can really master some so-called secret methods, but don't worry. Even if they do, they don't have any great abilities. To put it simply, if they really had such great abilities, would the Lihan Palace still need to let you sit on the throne? Those so-called holy beasts are either fictional or just remnant souls that have been locked up. They won't be able to stir up any trouble. Just do it. If you can't handle it, send a message to me. I'll handle it for you. If He Xinjiu had said this before, Emperor Jing Lai and the others would have scoffed at her. However, now that they had witnessed how abnormal this fellow was, they immediately nodded their heads. After discussing the details, everyone left with their own troops. Yun Chujiu also heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. However, she didn't order the troops stationed at the border to retreat. It was better to be on guard. Yun Chujiu took Prime Minister Sima and the others and set off for the capital. On the flying spirit tool, she gathered Prime Minister Sima and the others to discuss the matter of spreading public opinion. She was busy all the way until evening before returning to her cabin. Yun Chujiu ate something carelessly. Recalling what had happened in the past 2 days, she could not help but sigh heavily. This fellow had always been cheerful and optimistic. However, yesterday, Di Baiming had almost lost his life in order to save her. This fellow's heart was really very uncomfortable. However, her unlucky physique could only be upgraded by being struck by lightning. Even if she did not eat or drink, it was useless to cultivate. Therefore, she could only follow a curve to save the country. There were 2 steps. First, she had to rapidly expand her power. It was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. As long as she had her own influence and controlled the southern continent, that Lan Luochen would not be able to do anything to her. Second, when Wu Yun came to attack her, she had to try to catch a few more small dark clouds. This way, it would be much more convenient for her to cultivate. He Xinjiu held her chin and thought for a while. Then, she remembered that she had not seen a certain person since she got on the flying spirit tool, so she went outside the cabin of a certain person. This guy knocked on the door politely, which was rare for him. When a certain someone's cold voice came from inside, he walked in with a smile. As expected, a certain someone was meditating and cultivating. When he saw He Xinjiu come in, he frowned slightly and asked, "What's the matter?" "Yes. I miss you." He Xinjiu came to the side of a certain someone and said with her starry eyes. The Lord was obviously confused by He Xinjiu's shameless look. When he came back to his senses, He Xinjiu had already hugged his arm and said with a whimper, "Prince Charming, tell me, am I very useless? Every time I say I have to work hard, but every time I get you injured. A certain lord was about to break away from He Xinjia's embrace, but when he saw that He Xinjia's eyes were slightly red and full of tears, his heart suddenly tightened and he said with a stiff face, "You are very good." "Liar! How am I good? Even if I was struck by lightning this time and advanced 4 levels, I'm still only at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. I'm not even smart. I'm simply a useless piece of trash." He Xinjiu initially had the intention to tease him, but as she spoke, it turned out to be true. She felt wronged and guilty, and her tears fell onto the back of his hand. A certain honored warrior only felt that the drops of tears were burning his heart. The 7 emotions and 6 desires that had just been sealed were loosened once again. A certain honored warrior sighed in his heart. It seemed that there was no need to seal this seal anymore. Unless he couldn't see this little rascal, it was useless. A certain honored warrior endured the pain that surged up from his limbs and bones once again, and held Yun Chujia's head with his hand. He said word by word, "You went from an adopted daughter of a low-level continent to the female emperor of Zephyr. This shows that you are strong and hard-working. You saved the safety of the Azure Mystic Continent, the Tianyuan Continent, and the Immortal Yuan Continent. This shows that you are smart and courageous. Therefore, not only are you not a good-for-nothing, but you are also the smartest and strongest woman." Upon hearing Di Baiming's words, He Xinjia's eyes immediately lit up like stars. She stammered, You really don't think that I'm a good-for-nothing? Moreover, I'm very powerful." Di Baiming nodded. Looking at Yun Chujia's sparkling eyes, he lowered his head and kissed her. He Xinjiu, who was dizzy from the kiss, had a question in her mind. Isn't the gigolo sealed the 7 emotions and 6 desires? How a word not to kiss on. The two of them lingered for a long time. Di Baiming then realized that there was nothing strange in his body. The pain that had entered his bone marrow had disappeared. He Xinjiu saw this and immediately attributed this matter to Di Baiming kissing her. That was why the cold poison in his body had stopped. Di Baiming naturally would not believe her nonsense. It was not like he had never kissed her before. The two of them discussed and concluded that it was most likely related to Di Baiming being struck by lightning. Perhaps the thin jin in his body was intimidated by the heavenly lightning, so it stopped for the time being. He Xinjiu clapped her hands. "If that's the case, things will be easier. The next time you have a relapse, I will strike you with lightning." A certain night, why did he feel that the little rascal was gloating? He Xinjia's previous depressed mood was swept away. She happily nestled in a certain venerable's embrace and chattered non-stop. Di Baiming only listened with a smile. Occasionally, he would exchange a few words. It was only when He Xinjiu yawned because of her sleepiness that he said, "Little Jiu, when the matters of the Li Hate Palace come to an end, I'm going to leave for a period of time. You stay obediently in the southern continent. You must not take the risk to go to the northern continent. Do you hear me?" He Xinjia's face immediately scrunched up. "Must I leave?" Di Baiming nodded. "Little Jiu, the matter is far more complicated and dangerous than you can imagine. I must take back some of my things so that I have the ability to protect you." He Xinjiu pursed her lips. "All right, then go and settle your matters. I will be obedient and cultivate properly. I will not cause you any trouble." Di Baiming's heart softened when he saw He Xinjia's obedient look. He carried her to the bed and laid down beside her. He Xinjiu yawned again and mumbled, "Idle, I think that what Blackhead said about him having a son is most likely true. Why do you think we let him beat us to it? I've decided that if we have a daughter in the future, we'll kidnap Blackhead's son and make him our son-in-law. We'll bully him to death. A certain someone, Prince Charming, who did you say slept with Black Rooster Head? I'm afraid ordinary women won't be able to deal with that pretentious guy." He Xinjia's sleepy eyes flashed with a strong light of gossip. Di Baiming looked at her speechlessly. Aren't you sleepy? Why aren't you sleeping? Hei Shinjo mumbled a few more words before falling into a deep sleep. However, it was not stable to fall asleep. She did not know what she was dreaming about. Sometimes, she cried and sometimes screamed. It was not until she was held in Di Biming's arms that she finally stopped. Di Biming's eyes flashed with pity and ruthlessness. There were some things that had to be done. Although it might make the situation even more chaotic and passive, it was time to go back for the sake of his and little Jio's future. The next day, Hei Shinjo woke up from a certain honored warrior's embrace in a refreshed manner. The guy rubbed against the honored warrior's chest and mumbled, "It's better not to be sealed. Otherwise, I'm always worried that it'll make you sick from flirting with me." The honored warrior smiled bitterly in his heart. At this moment, he was also being teased to the point that he wished he were dead. At this moment, he was truly envious and jealous of that idiot Xue Wuji. In the other cabin, Xue Wuji sneezed hard and couldn't help but mutter, "Eh? Did that heartless woman or Royer miss me?" At this moment, this guy didn't know that his son had been targeted by Hei Shinjo and was labeled as a visiting son-in-law. After Yun Chujio returned to the capital, regardless of whether it was the feedback from the various countries or the progress of the matter regarding the East Phoenix Kingdom, everything went smoothly. However, when Tian Yun Chujio received two pieces of news, it caused her to frown slightly. "Your Majesty, the national advisor of the original East Phoenix Kingdom, Yuan Ji, is missing. In addition, the national advisors of the South Dragon Kingdom, West Tiger Kingdom, and North Xian Kingdom used a secret technique to attract the appearance of the divine beasts. For a time, the people in the three kingdoms were in a state of panic. The kings of the three kingdoms sent letters requesting for help," Prime Minister Sima reported. Yun Chujio's frown deepened. She had always had a good impression of Yuan Ji. Although she had not agreed when he had chosen her to be his handmaiden, he had not made things difficult for her in the later stages. Why had he run away? As Hei Shinjo thought about it, her eyes suddenly widened. She finally understood why the palace master of the Li Hen Palace looked somewhat familiar. Now that she thought about it, although his appearance was different, his temperament was exactly the same as Yuan Jis. Could it be that Yuan Ji was the palace master of the Li Hate Palace? On one hand, Yun Chujio felt that this was unlikely, but on the other hand, her intuition told her that the palace master of the Li Hate Palace was Yuan Ji. She recalled some clues. Lan Luochen had once said that he had done many things in order to see her. Back then, she had been found by the Yun clan because Yuan Ji had told the monarch of the East Phoenix Kingdom that she would save the East Phoenix Kingdom from danger. That was why the Yun clan had sent people to find her. Thinking about it this way, Yuan Ji might really be Lan Luchen's man. The reason why he had become the imperial preceptor of the East Phoenix Kingdom was most likely to be to spy on her. However, Yun Chujio still could not understand. Wasn't this overkill? Back then, the East Phoenix Kingdom was only a third-grade small country. Was there a need to have the palace master of the Lihan Palace personally guard it? However, when Yun Chujio heard the news that Prime Minister Sima had mentioned later on, she understood a few times. There were so many countries of all sizes, but they had not heard of any problems with the divine halls of any country. Only the South Dragon Kingdom and the other three countries had problems. This meant that only the remnant souls of the divine beasts of these four countries still existed, the rest was most likely just a cover. Perhaps, Yuan Jis' main purpose in becoming the state preceptor of the East Phoenix Kingdom was not to find her, but to plot against the remnant souls of the four divine beasts. The more Hei Shinjo thought about it, the more she felt that this was the case. Also, the last time at the Chaotian sect, Lan Luochen wanted to find the black bead. There might be some connection between them. Hei Shinjo thought about it for a while, and finally decided to go to the three countries of the South Dragon Country to take care of the remnant souls of the divine beasts that turned into demons. She could use them to replenish the Cheong Chi and the others. Thinking of the Cheong Chi and the others, Yun Chujio recalled that the Great Void soul-replenishing formation needed to be set in an extremely cold place. After taking care of the remnant souls of the divine beasts of the three countries this time, she could let the pretty boy bring her to the bottomless ice abyss in the immortal Yuan continent. She needed to repair the remnant souls of Cheong Chi and Tao Wu. Cheong Chi boasted that as long as the souls of the ferocious beasts were solid enough, they could produce new shells. If she had Cheong Chi and Tao Wu as her henchmen, wouldn't she be happy? The more Yun Chujio thought about it, the more excited she became. She immediately flew to the southern dragon country with Di Biming and the others on the flying spiritual device. When Emperor Nan Xian saw He Xinjiu, he was as obedient as a little daughter-in-law. Now, he could not be compared to before. Thinking back to the time when they were both the kings of the third-grade countries, now that the little girl had become the king of a first-grade country, what else could he do? What else could he do other than bow down to her? Yun Chujio went straight to the point and asked about the golden dragon. Didn't I scare the golden dragon out of its wits last time? Why did it come out to be a demon again? Chapter 36-46, Female Emperor Fenghua is a jinx. Emperor Nan Xian said with a bitter face, Your Majesty Fenghua, don't mention it. At first, everything was peaceful, but later, the state preceptor, Huan Shi, used some unknown method to lure out the remnant soul of the golden dragon. It would appear every 3 days. And, Emperor Nan Xian looked troubled when he said this, as if he didn't know whether to continue. Yun Chujio smiled faintly, just tell the truth. I'm not a stupid monarch. The corner of Emperor Nan Xian's mouth twitched, he continued, furthermore, the golden dragon said that you, Your Majesty, are a jinx. If we do not push you down from the throne, not only will the southern dragon kingdom suffer, but the entire sky-high continent will suffer as well. Yun Chujio pouted, let's go and meet that lecherous dragon right now. Emperor Nan Xian said nervously, Your Majesty Fenghua, I'm afraid that golden dragon is not easy to deal with. How many people should we bring? It's enough to bring the imperial guards to protect you. Leave the rest to me. He Xinjiu said lightly. Although Emperor Nan Xian felt that He Xinjiu's words were a little arrogant, he thought that this monarch who had become a first-class country's monarch in a short period of time was naturally very capable, so he nodded in agreement. The group of people left the palace and went straight to the Divine Hall. Unexpectedly, the people of the South Dragon Kingdom, who were already gathered at the entrance of the Divine Hall, were all shouting angrily, Female Emperor Fenghua, you jinx, quickly abdicate. Yes, Female Emperor Fenghua, you stupid monarch, stay away from our Divine Hall. Your Majesty, Lord Dragon God has already made it very clear that this female Emperor Fenghua is a scourge. Why are you still so respectful to her? Don't you listen to Lord Dragon God? Come and read on our website Wuxia World Site. Thanks. Emperor Nan Xian kept wiping the cold sweat on his head and hurriedly expressed his loyalty to He Xinjiu. Your Majesty Fenghua, these people are full of nonsense. I am loyal to you. Yun Chujio ignored him and glanced at the angry crowd. She laughed lightly. You are really bold. Do you have no brains or do you want to die? I am the monarch of a first-class country, and you are merely the citizens of a third-class small country. You want to go against me with just a few words of encouragement from a broken bug? Let alone a few thousand of you, I can destroy the entire southern dragon country if I want to. Since you say that I am a scourge and a jinx, then I will be a stupid monarch to grant you your wish. I will kill all of you. Men, kill them all. Leave no one alive. The citizens of the southern dragon kingdom were all dumbfounded. There was no one else who could be such a righteous and foolish ruler. It was only then that they realized that the female emperor of Fenghua whom they were targeting was no longer the monarch of the East Phoenix Kingdom. Instead, she was the monarch of a first-class kingdom. She was not someone they could afford to provoke. When they saw that the soldiers were actually planning to kill them, they were terrified. A hawk-nosed man immediately knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, please spare us. Your Majesty, please spare us. We were all instigated by the divine dragon. Those were not our true words. With the leader, many people quickly knelt down, and immediately, a series of pleas for mercy sounded. He Xinjiu did not even bother to look at them. These people were just fence-sitters and had no position at all. She simply waved her hand and ordered the soldiers to disperse these people. Then, she ordered people to break open the door of the divine hall. Emperor Nanxian secretly wiped off his cold sweat. It had to be said that this little girl was really courageous. To deal with these people who had already lost their minds, it was impossible to reason with them. Only such a thunderous stance could intimidate them. Chapter 36-47, Encountering the Golden Dragon. Again the door of the Divine Hall was knocked open, and a few maids and guards of the Divine Hall stood behind an old man, trembling. Yun Chujiu sized up the old man, thinking that this should be the current imperial preceptor of the Southern Dragon Kingdom, Huan Shi. Huan Shi also sized up Yun Chujiu, but his gaze lingered on Di Baiming and Xue Wuji for a moment, because he could see that among these people, the two of them had the highest spiritual power. He sneered, "What? Is the female emperor of Fenghua planning to openly make an enemy of our Li-Hate palace? Aren't you afraid of incurring a disaster?" Yun Chujiu curled her lips. "You're already on the brink of death, why are you still pretending? I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Prince Charming, capture him and search his soul directly." Huan Shi never thought that Yun Chujiu would be so direct. He shouted, "Aren't you afraid of the divine dragon getting angry?" Yun Chujiu smiled like a flower and said, "Dragon god? How can that perverted dragon be called a dragon god? I'm here to destroy its soul." Huan Shi was completely dumbfounded. Initially, he thought that the Palace of Hatred and the Dragon God were two safe talismans. He did not expect Yun Chujiu to not fall for it. What should he do? Before he could think of anything, Di Baiming's figure had already arrived in front of him. Huan Shi hurriedly accepted the challenge. Even though he had used all his strength, he was still imprisoned by Di Baiming after a few rounds. Di Baiming immediately began to search his soul. Unfortunately, before he could get any critical information, Huan Shi had already bled to death from his 7 orifices. Yun Chujiu was stunned. His divine sense was actually imprisoned. Why was this method so similar to the divine devil hall? Could it be just a coincidence? Just as Yun Chujiu was thinking about it, she saw a huge golden dragon appear on the altar. When the huge dragon saw that Yun Chujiu was her enemy, it was especially jealous. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Last time, this stinky girl borrowed the dragon to kill people and somehow attracted a bolt of lightning. It almost scared it to death. Later, it realized that the lightning was definitely just a coincidence. This time, it had to take revenge. As long as it brought this stinky girl to its palace, she would not be able to escape from its palm. At that time, it would be able to possess her. When the golden dragon thought of this, it said arrogantly, "Little girl, if you obediently ascend the altar, I will spare you people. Otherwise, all of you will die today." Yun Chujiu giggled a few times and then said disdainfully, "Are you lying to a ghost? Don't think that I don't know. You can only pretend to be a ghost on the altar. If you have the ability, come and bite me." Golden Dragon gritted his teeth. "Stupid girl, if you don't come up, I will show my spirit every day and let everyone know that you are a disaster and a jinx." Yun Chujiu spread her hands. "It's up to you. No matter what you say, everyone will think that you are a crazy dragon. Anyway, the people of the Southern Dragon Kingdom are quite poor in their spare time, so I can treat you like a monkey." The golden dragon was so angry that it almost could not maintain its phantom image. This wretched girl was really too detestable. The golden dragon gritted its teeth. Even if it lost some of its scales today, it would still possess this wretched girl. Hence, a gust of wind blew in the divine hall. When everyone opened their eyes, Di Biming and Yun Chujio had both disappeared on the spot. Emperor Nan Xian and the others were instantly numb. It's over. Where did Emperor Fenghua and her fiancé go? Could they have been taken away by the dragon god? Chapter 36-48, riding on Wu Yun to split the dragon. Shui Wuji raised his eyebrows sinisterly and said casually, "Don't worry. Little sister Jiu will be back soon." Emperor Nan Xian and the others were skeptical. That was a divine dragon. Although it was only a remnant soul, it was still very terrifying, okay? On the other side, Di Biming and Yun Chujio had already arrived at a stone hall. Previously, Di Biming was afraid that Yun Chujio would be in danger, so he had been holding her hand all this while. Hence, they were brought in together. In the middle of the stone hall was a stone platform. There was a huge skeleton on it, and there were many huge golden scales scattered around it. Yun Chujio swept her gaze across the stone hall and said to the smug golden dragon, "You prodigal thing. Why are there so many scales missing? I was planning to embed these scales on little Wu Yun's body to show off." Golden dragon, fuck. Those were its scales, alright. From the tone of this stinky girl, she actually treated its scales as her own, how shameless. And what the hell was Wu Yun? It must be some spirit tool of this stinky girl, she even gave it the name Wu Yun, how shameless. Golden dragon gritted its teeth and said, "Stinky girl, cut the crap. I let you escape last time, this time it won't be so easy." Yun Chujio was about to say something, but Di Biming had already jumped forward and fought with Golden Dragon. Di Biming knew that he was not a match for Golden Dragon, and he also knew that He Xinjiu had many remnant souls that could deal with Golden Dragon. However, this was a rare opportunity to improve his combat experience, so he did not plan to let it go. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. He Xinjiu blinked her eyes and immediately understood Di Biming's intention. Therefore, she sneaked to the stone platform and began to stuff dragon scales into her storage ring. At first, the golden dragon did not notice it, but when it saw He Xinjiu's behavior from the corner of its eye, it was so angry that it almost disappeared. It had seen shameless people before, but it was the first time it had seen such a shameless person. It did not care about Di Biming anymore. It pounced on He Xinjiu while baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. "Stupid girl, stop." He Xinjiu naturally would not wait for her body to be possessed foolishly. She jumped to the side agilely and said with a smile, "It'll piss you off. It'll piss you off. Bite me if you have the ability." If the golden dragon had a shell, it would definitely spit out a mouthful of blood. It was simply infuriated to death. Just as it was about to continue chasing He Xinjiu, Di Biming had already blocked its path. It could only engage in a battle with Di Biming again. The golden dragon held its breath. Just what was the background of this man? How could his strength be so terrifying at such a young age? Although its spiritual power was not even 1/10 of its peak, it was still not that weak. 15 minutes later, Di Biming was at a disadvantage. The golden dragon could not help but feel proud. Unfortunately, its pride quickly froze on its face because it saw that little girl sitting on a Wu Yun. The golden dragon recalled Yun Chujio's words about embedding its scales on Wu Yun's body. It was actually Wu Yun. "Hey! You little bug! Do you know what this is? Watch my invincible little Wu Yun kill you." He Xinjiu said as she flew towards the golden dragon on the little Wu Yun. While the golden dragon was still in a daze, the little Wu Yun struck down several bolts of lightning above it. Not a single bolt of lightning wasted on the golden dragon. Although little Wu Yun's lightning was not very strong, it still struck the golden dragon until it trembled. The main thing that the remnant soul feared the most was heavenly lightning. How could it not be afraid? Chapter 3649 shall be given to Wuxia's head. The golden dragon immediately gave up. It hurriedly retreated to the side of the skeleton and said in a stern voice, "Stop. We have no worries in the distant days and no grudges in the near future. Let's just forget about this matter. I'll send you up and well pretend that nothing has happened." Hei Shinjo sat on the small dark cloud and flew around the stone hall a few times. She said disdainfully, "If you want to send us up now, you'll have to see whether we agree or not. I reckon that you can only send us up when we climb up the stone platform, right?" The golden dragon looked at Hei Shinjo in disbelief. How did she know this? Yun Chujiu saw the golden dragon's widened eyes and knew that she was right. She could not help but twitch her lips and say, "Little bug, you've ruined the souls of many women before. It's not an exaggeration to say that you'll die 10,000 times like this. So, you should commit suicide." A trace of guilt flashed through Golden Dragon's eyes. He quibbled, "That was all given to me by that idiot on his own initiative. Moreover, when he gave it to me, he was already dead. It doesn't matter whether I absorbed their souls or not." "Pooey. You shameless bastard. How could it be the same? They're already dead, yet they still have to suffer your humiliation. You should simply go to the 18th level of hell. Damn it, I don't want to talk to a dragon scum like you. You too, kill it." Hei Shinjo released Tao Wu and Qiong Qi as she spoke. After Tao Wu was released, he charged towards the golden dragon obediently. Qiong Qi said obsequiously, "Little fairy, long time no see. You are becoming more and more evil. Now, you even dare to kill the divine dragon. I love you to death." As soon as Qiong Qi finished speaking, it felt a cold gaze on it. It then realized that there was a man in white standing on the other side of the stone hall. It immediately shrank its neck. It laughed dryly, "What a child says, what a child says. Well, little fairy, I'll go and kill that evil dragon right now to avenge you." Hei Xinjia's mouth twitched. What a child's words. What a child's words. He was really pretending to be young. The golden dragon was scared silly. This wretched girl actually had the remnant souls of Tao Wu and Qiong Qi. The heavens wanted to kill it. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, the golden dragon pleaded while dealing with Tao Wu and Qiong Qi, little fairy, I'll give you all these scales. Please spare me." Yun Chujiu looked at it as if she was looking at an idiot. "Idiot, I can take the scales away even if I kill you. Also, your skeleton and the 6 10,000-year-old black iron chains are mine." Golden Dragon, Tao Wu and Qiong Qi's remnant souls were not as solid as the golden dragon, so there was no way to determine who was stronger. Hei Shinjo decided to release De Hua as well. When the golden dragon saw De Hua in black, it immediately felt that there was no way out. It regretted it so much. If it knew this would happen, it would not have listened to Huan Shi's words. It would definitely stay quietly in the stone hall. It would definitely not provoke this little demon. Unfortunately, it was too late. The golden dragon lasted less than 15 minutes before it was eaten by De Hua and the others. Qiong Qi burped and said, "Burp, burp, the souls of godly beasts are delicious. But, aren't the 4 godly beasts immortal? Why didn't it turn into a dragon egg?" Before Qiong Qi finished his sentence, the skeleton and scales on the stone platform were burning rapidly, and a pure white egg appeared. Hei Shinjo was dumbfounded. However, with the example of the phoenix egg, this guy quickly calmed down. She curled her lips. "This golden dragon is a lecherous dragon. I don't want such a spiritual beast. When we go out, give this dragon egg to Wu Ji's head. He is more suitable." How did Chapter 3650 become a contract? The corners of Di Baiming's eyes twitched when he heard Yun Chujia's words. Shui Wuji was indeed a good match for this dragon egg. Hei Shinjo kept Tao Wu and Qiong Qi and threw the dragon egg to Di Baiming with a look of disdain. She then happily grabbed the 6 10,000-year-old black iron chains. This guy was planning in his heart. The few 10,000-year-old black iron chains were made into cloud hooks by her, and the remaining ones had to be saved so that she could refine them into puppets in the future. Thinking of puppets, He Xinjia's face darkened. Puppet number 1, number 2, and number 3 self-destructed to save her last time, so she had time to make 3 new puppet plates. Di Baiming did not have a spirit beast bag, so he could only hold the dragon egg with his hands and watch He Xinjiu pull the 10,000-year-old black iron chain. Crack! Crack! Di Baiming lowered his head suspiciously and saw that there was a crack on the dragon egg. He subconsciously put the dragon egg on the ground. The dragon egg soon broke into 2 halves, and a cute golden dragon came out. The golden dragon ate the egg shell in 2 or 3 bites. Then, it looked at Di Baiming with admiration and said softly, "Daddy." A certain dragon, seeing that Di Baiming did not respond, the golden dragon reached out its claws to grab Di Baiming's clothes. The certain dragon frowned and kicked the golden dragon away. The miserable golden dragon fainted with a choked sound. "Ha! Ha! Daddy! I'm dying of laughter. Prince Charming, it seems that this little lecherous dragon has mistaken you for its daddy." He Xinjiu laughed so hard that she could not even get up from the ground. The face of one of the dragons was very ugly. After a long while, it finally squeezed out a sentence. When it recognizes that idiot Xue Wuji as its master, it will naturally forget about this matter. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Seeing that the head of one of the dragons was about to explode with anger, He Xinjiu shrunk her neck and did not dare to add fuel to the fire. She continued to pull on her 10,000-year-old black iron chain. After the miserable golden dragon woke up, it flew to the side of the golden dragon. Just as it was about to speak again, it saw the cold eyes of the golden dragon. It was so frightened that it trembled and fell to the ground. Just as the golden dragon was slightly relieved, a timid voice came from its spiritual sense, "Father, are you angry?" The golden dragon was instantly in a bad mood. His eyes stared blankly at the trembling golden dragon on the ground. Did he establish a contract? He didn't do anything. How did he establish a contract with this thing? He Xinjiu noticed that Di Baiming's expression was a little strange and asked worriedly, "Idol, what's wrong with you?" A certain deity pointed at the golden dragon on the ground with a stiff expression and squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. "Why did I establish a contract with it?" He Xinjiu was stunned at first, then she almost passed out from laughing. This guy really couldn't imagine that the gigolo had actually contracted a little perverted dragon. Was there such a contrast and cuteness in the world? Seeing that Yun Chujiu was just laughing there, Di Baiming's face turned even gloomier, and his cold eyes darted towards He Xinjiu. He Xinjiu finally stopped laughing after realizing her conscience. She touched her chin and said, "Prince Charming, maybe you were injured when you were fighting with the golden dragon, so your blood got on the dragon egg, and then the contract was formed. Well, in fact, this little perverted dragon is not bad besides being lecherous. After all, it's one of the 4 great divine beasts." Hearing this, Di Baiming looked at his own hand. As expected, there was an indiscernible wound. It was probably caused during a fight and then absorbed by the dragon egg, which was why the contract was formed. Chapter 3651, Kill It. Di Baiming looked coldly at the golden dragon that was trembling on the ground. He raised his hand and a black frost fire appeared in his palm. He waved it at the golden dragon on the ground. The golden dragon was so scared that it flew out. How many lifetimes had it been unlucky? Why did Daddy want to burn it to death? Although it was a dragon that was not afraid of ordinary fire, it was the fire of ice. It could not withstand it. He Xinjiu was also shocked and quickly stopped him. "Prince Charming, what are you going to do?" Di Baiming said coldly, "Kill it. Then it will be reborn and given to that idiot Xue Wuji." Hearing that, although the corner of He Xinjia's eyes twitched a few times, she felt that the idea was not bad. After all, no matter how she looked at it, she felt that the pretty boy and the little lecherous dragon were not on good terms. The little golden dragon was about to cry. Didn't the inheritance say that it was one of the 4 great divine beasts? Didn't it say that everyone wanted it? Why did Harry Daddy want to kill it with a look of disdain? Although the little golden dragon tried its best to dodge, it had just broken through its shell, so it was no match for Beiming. It was about to lose its life. He Xinjiu suddenly had a flash of inspiration and said, "Prince Charming, actually you don't have to kill it. You can cancel the contract with it. You can cancel the contract and then give it to Brother Wuji, won't that do? In that case, Brother Wuji won't have to wait for the time to break the shell. Otherwise, it might take a long time to break the shell, just like my phoenix egg." Beiming frowned. He felt that what Yun Chujio said made sense. He stopped chasing after the golden dragon and concentrated his energy, wanting to cancel the contract with the golden dragon. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Unfortunately, he didn't know what kind of contract the golden dragon and Beiming had established. Beiming tried for a long time, but he couldn't cancel it. He looked at the golden dragon with even colder eyes. He Xinjiu released the nightmare beast and asked, "Curly hair, do you have a way to get rid of the contract with the golden dragon?" The nightmare beast gloated at the trembling golden dragon. How could a godly beast have more than one? Wasn't it still a poor little thing that no one wanted? It said flatteringly, "Little fairy, as far as I know, other than an equal contract between a godly beast and a human, there is also a life and death contract between a master and a pet. In other words, unless the divine beast recognizes its master and dies, there is no way to break the contract." Hearing that, Beiming raised his hand again, ready to kill the golden dragon. Meng Yanshou hurriedly continued, "Your Majesty, since this little dragon has already recognized its master, then even if you kill it, it will only recognize you as its master after it resurrects." Yun Chujio could not help but twitch her lips. Why does this little dragon look like a dog's skin plaster? Can't it get rid of it? Meng Yanshou laughed dryly and did not say a word. It felt as though its heart was bickering with a dog. That little thing is the dragon of the 4 great divine beasts, all right. If it was an ordinary person who had a contract with a dragon, they would definitely wake up laughing in their dreams, all right. The little golden dragon wanted to get close to a certain one, but it did not dare to. It could only pitifully tremble on the ground. Seeing this, He Xinjiu smiled and said, "Prince Charming, why don't you take it? No matter what, it's still a dragon. As for its lecherous behavior, if you really can't do it, you can turn it into a eunuch dragon. This way, it won't be able to flirt with other women." The little golden dragon, how could it bully a dragon like this? What did it do wrong that it would be given something inhumanely as soon as it was born? Chapter 3652, A Rabbit Doesn't Eat Grass. Near its nest, the little golden dragon saw the dark expression on the face of a certain dragon, as if it was really considering He Xinjia's suggestion, and it immediately felt hopeless. Could it be that it was going to become the first eunuch dragon in history? It bit its 2 baby teeth. Fuck, if its master really wanted to do something to it, it would commit suicide. Then, it would stay in the egg and not come out until its perverted master was dead before it hatched. Obviously, the golden dragon had forgotten one thing. Once it turned back into a dragon egg, it would forget everything that happened in the past. How would it remember these things? He Xinjiu stared at a certain one with a mischievous expression. Her words just now were naturally just words. She knew that Beiming would never do such a shameless thing. Sure enough, although the certain one's expression was gloomy, it did not make a move. Instead, it said coldly to the golden dragon that was shivering on the ground, "I can keep you, but if you can't change your nature and become a womanizer, I'll follow Little Nine's instructions and directly turn you into a eunuch dragon. In addition, I'll give you a year. If you're still so weak, then you can turn back into an egg. The golden dragon was about to cry. The first one was easy to deal with. It was originally a little dragon, so why would it go and be a womanizer? But the second one is going to become stronger in a year. It's not giving it a way out. Although the golden dragon was on the verge of breaking down, it still said with a trembling voice, "Yes, father." Seeing Di Biming's gloomy face, the golden dragon swallowed the word father and changed its words, "Yes, master." Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. He Xinjiu blinked her eyes and said, "Prince Charming, you just accepted a new spiritual pet. Don't you need a nice name? I think the name Little Sexy Dragoni's a good name. You can remind it not to break the rules at any time." The corner of Di Biming's mouth twitched slightly, but he still nodded. "Sure, I'll listen to you." The little perverted dragon that had just come out of the oven couldn't help but cry out to the sky. Oh God! What kind of sin did it commit in its previous life? How did it meet these two perverts? The little perverted dragon grumbled in its heart while secretly staring at He Xinjiu. Seeing the little perverted dragon staring at He Xinjiu, Di Biming immediately kicked it away. "What are you looking at?" The little perverted dragon, it was so wronged. It only smelled the dragon scales on the female pervert, even though she was pretty. He Xinjiu also felt the little perverted dragon's gaze and added fiercely, "If you keep looking, I'll poke your eyes blind. I'll rip off your tendons, eat your dragon meat, and turn you into an egg." The little perverted dragon shivered and did not dare to look at He Xinjiu again. It glanced at the Meng Yanshou, who was gloating at Meng Yanshou's misfortune and was very unconvinced. This Meng Yanshou was also famous for being lecherous. Why didn't those two perverts despise it? Seeing the little perverted dragon looking at it, the Meng Yanshou grinned and snorted in disdain. "Idiot, a rabbit doesn't eat grass near its nest. How dare you peek at the boss woman? Aren't you courting death?" He Xinjiu took out a high-grade spirit beast bag from her storage ring and handed it to a certain god. "Prince Charming, use this to pretend to be a little perverted dragon." A certain god frowned. How troublesome. If it wasn't an accident this time, he wouldn't have kept any spirit pets. It would have been fine as long as he kept the little rascal. If He Xinjiu knew what a certain god was thinking, she would probably vomit blood. Did he treat her as a spirit pet? Was there such a beautiful spiritual pet like her? Chapter 3653 should be considered a good master. Just as Di Biming was about to put the little dragon into the spirit beast bag, He Xinjiu stopped him and said, "Prince Charming, don't put it in yet. After I pull out the last black iron chain, let it take us out." Di Biming nodded. He held the dragon horn on the little dragon's head with his hands and watched He Xinjiu pull out the last 10,000-year-old black iron chain. The little dragon's heart was broken. What happened to the master and the spiritual pet loving each other? What happened to the godly beast treatment? Why was it like a burden now? The little dragon raised its head and wanted to look at He Xinjiu. Thinking of the threat from the two of them, it immediately looked at the roof. It was most likely the most aggrieved dragon in history. Finally, He Xinjiu pulled out the last black iron chain. The entire stone hall began to tremble violently. He Xinjiu knew that the stone hall was about to collapse. "Little perverted dragon, hurry up and bring us out. Otherwise, you'll starve to death," He Xinjiu said fiercely. The little perverted dragon felt that it had nothing left to live for. Couldn't it be gentler with its threats? However, the little dragon did not dare to resist. When He Xinjiu regained her sight, she was already outside. The altar had already begun to collapse. Emperor Nan Xian and the others looked at He Xinjiu in confusion. Was she destroying the golden dragon? A certain dragon had already hidden the little dragon in his wide sleeves, so no one had discovered the little dragon. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, He Xinjiu said pretentiously, I've already killed that evil dragon. Don't worry. There won't be any more evil dragons causing trouble in the future. The little dragon in one of the sleeves could not help but tremble. From the sound of it, he had been killed by these two perverts in his previous life. Did that mean that he had acknowledged the thief as his father? However, on second thought, if he had not died in his previous life, he would not have been there. Thus, this pair of perverts should be his biological parents. At this thought, the little dragon's resentment towards a certain dragon and He Xinjiu lessened. Although they had fiercely threatened him, they had not done anything to him, so he should still be considered a decent master, right? Right? Emperor Nanxian sang praises and praised the virtues for a while. He finally let out a long breath. Without this bullshit divine hall, he was also much more relaxed. Otherwise, he would have been suppressed to death by the imperial preceptor of the Lihen Palace. He Xinjiu did not stay in the South Dragon Kingdom for long and immediately rushed to the West Tiger Kingdom. The situation in the West Tiger Kingdom was even more serious than that of the South Xian Kingdom. As soon as Yun Chujiu and the others flying spirit tools arrived outside the capital of the West Tiger Kingdom, angry civilians clashed with the officers and soldiers who were maintaining order. Emperor Shiwen wished that he could arrest all the troublemakers. However, the law did not punish the masses. There were more than 10,000 people gathered outside the city. If the matter was blown up, his throne would be hard to guarantee. Yun Chujiu was not too surprised to see the situation outside through the observation window. The imperial preceptor of the Lihen Palace had been rooted for many years. The matter regarding the divine beasts was deeply ingrained in the hearts of the civilians. It would not be so easy to eliminate the influence in a short period of time. The West Tiger Kingdom was still different from the Southern Dragon Kingdom. After all, the golden dragon of the Southern Dragon Kingdom was lustful before, and it had long been the subject of complaints. The white tiger of the West Tiger Kingdom was very low-key, except for a few calls during its birthday every year, it was usually silent. However, she didn't know how the imperial preceptor of the West Tiger Kingdom persuaded the white tiger to come out and slander her. When the commoners saw that Yun Chujiu had not dismounted from the flying spirit tool, they were certain that she had been intimidated by them. Their shouts became even louder, "Female Emperor of Zephyr, get out of our West Tiger Kingdom." Chapter 3654 Fighting Poison with Poison. Xue Wuji raised his eyebrows. Little sister Jiu, they'll kill a few hundred people and they'll stop. Yun Chujiu smiled faintly. Although it's effective to deal with these ignorant people by force, it's inevitable that they will have a rebellious mentality. It'll give them a fighting poison with poison. Brother Wuji, just watch. Xue Wuji was wondering what Yun Chujiu meant by poison to poison when he saw He Xinjiu fly out from the porthole. Yes, she flew out on little Wu Yun. The crowd immediately exploded. Everyone looked at little Wu Yun and He Xinjiu in the sky in horror. This Zephyr Empress was sitting on Wu Yun. It can't be. Perhaps it was just a flying spirit tool that looked like Wu Yun. Just as everyone was wondering, they heard a rumbling sound. Wu Yun had dropped more than 10 bolts of lightning. Everyone was dumbfounded. It was really Wu Yun. How did Wu Yun become the flying spiritual artifact of the Zephyr female emperor? Didn't Lady White Tiger say that the Zephyr female emperor was a scourge and a jinx? If that was the case, how did Wu Yun, the emissary of Tian Dao, become her flying spiritual artifact? Just as everyone was bewildered, He Xinjiu's crisp voice came from the little Wu Yun. I am the emissary of the divine phoenix, and I am the favored child of the Tian Dao. How can I be the jinx that you all speak of? You may have heard that the Lihen Palace has committed all kinds of crimes, including burning, killing, and plundering. Therefore, all of this must be a lie fabricated by that national advisor Wan Chen. Everyone looked at each other. Was what the female emperor of Zephyr said true or what the Grand Tutor said true? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Someone in the crowd immediately questioned, these words were said by Lord White Tiger. Could it be that Lord White Tiger would lie? He Xinjia's mouth twitched in her heart. Pooey. Why couldn't White Tiger lie? That evil dragon was also lecherous. However, this fellow sighed on the surface and said, Lord White Tiger naturally wouldn't lie. However, Lord White Tiger doesn't care about the affairs of the world, so it's inevitable that he would be deceived by a treacherous person. If you are still worried, wait for me to confront Lord White Tiger, okay? When everyone heard this, they felt that this matter was more reliable. No matter how arrogant this female emperor of Fenghua was, would she still dare to go against Lord White Tiger? Thus, everyone finally made a path for Yun Chujiu and the others to enter the capital. Emperor Shiwen wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He moved closer to Yun Chujiu and whispered, Your Majesty Fenghua, I don't know what Wan Chen said to Lord White Tiger. Lord White Tiger suddenly appeared a few days ago and said those words. You must be careful. Yun Chujiu nodded, her face calm because she was confident that she could take care of the White Tiger. Moreover, this guy was thinking that after the White Tiger turned into an egg, he could give it to Shui Wuji. The group soon arrived at the Divine Hall. The door of the Divine Hall was closed and 2 guards stood at the door, saying arrogantly, the Imperial Preceptor ordered that Lord White Tiger doesn't like to be disturbed. Leave quickly, or don't blame us for being rude. Just as Emperor Shiwen was about to explain, Shui Wuji had already slapped the 2 guards to death and kicked open the door of the Divine Hall. The reason why this fellow was so enthusiastic was very simple. A certain Jiu had promised him that she would give him the White Tiger. This fellow was very happy in his heart and was prepared to use the White Tiger to coax his son. The people watching from behind were obviously shocked by Shui Wuji's ruthlessness. For a moment, no one dared to say anything more and just watched Yun Chujiu and the others walk into the Divine Hall. Chapter 3655. He Xinjiu confronts White Tiger. When Yun Chujiu and the others entered the Divine Hall, guards immediately came up to stop them. Shui Wuji did not stand on ceremony either. He killed every single one of them. Emperor Shiwen was shivering on the side. Oh God! What was the background of this red-clothed great devil? How could he be so terrifying? The national advisor Wan Chen finally appeared. He said with a gloomy and cold expression, Are you planning to make an enemy of Lord White Tiger? Aren't you afraid that Lord White Tiger will show his power and kill you all, leading to the destruction of the West Tiger Kingdom? Yun Chujiu couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with him. She signaled with her eyes, and the great killing tool, Shui Wuji, and the ultimate killing tool, De-Beiming, attacked at the same time. Wan Chen didn't expect that they would be so valiant. They didn't even need to use diplomatic language to attack. He shouted anxiously, Lord White Tiger, help! Help! The shadow of a majestic white tiger quickly appeared on the 9-story altar. It raised its head and let out a sky-shaking roar. Wan Chen immediately revealed a proud expression. Still not stopping. Don't tell me you want Lord White Tiger to personally kill all of you. His proud expression quickly turned into fear because an ice arrow had pierced into his glabella. He fell to the ground unwillingly. These people were not even afraid of the White Tiger. The White Tiger on the altar was obviously very shocked. These foolish humans actually did not listen to its orders. Just as the White Tiger was about to make a move, it saw a little girl looking at it with a smile. White Tiger. You are the White Tiger. You say that I am a jinx and that I am a scourge. Are you blind? White Tiger, Emperor Shiwen, the angry crowd that was waiting for the confrontation, come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. The phantom of the White Tiger trembled. It was obviously extremely furious. It roared in the human language, you are a jinx and you are a scourge. Otherwise, why did you kill Wan Chen? Don't you know that he is my servant? He Xinjiu crossed her shoulders and tiptoed, she said leisurely, "Tsk, tsk. You have to pay attention to the evidence when you speak. What evidence do you have to prove that I am the jinx, the scourge? If you can believe my nonsense, I will say that you are the jinx, the scourge." As for Luan Chen, he deserved to die just because of his appearance. Is there a need for a reason? The white tiger obviously did not expect to meet someone who did not play by the rules. For a moment it was rendered speechless. Naturally, it did not have any reason. It was just that Luan Chen said that Yun Chujio was harboring evil intentions and wanted to destroy the West Tiger Kingdom. He wanted it to help out so that the West Tiger Kingdom would not be taken over and it would not be disadvantageous to it. The white tiger saw that Luan Chen had been quite meticulous in serving it all these years, so it agreed. Anyway, it was not a big deal. Who would have thought that the female emperor of Zephyr would actually come and confront it? The white tiger was silent for a moment before it said arrogantly, "I'll do whatever I say. I don't need any reason. Either you leave the West Tiger Kingdom now, or don't blame me for being impolite." He Xinjiu looked at it with disdain. "Come on, you're welcome to be impolite to me. I'd like to see what kind of ability this little white cat of yours has." Little white cat. The white tiger was so angry that it almost fainted. It suppressed its anger and said calmly, "Come up to the altar, I have something to say to you." He Xinjiu showed an even more contemptuous expression. "Do you think I'm a fool? Go up and let you take care of me. Come down and take care of me if you have the ability. Stupid cat." Although the white tiger did not know what a cat was, it was not a good thing. It gritted its teeth and started to wave its claws. Chapter 3656 Deserved to die 10,000 times. Di Biming held Yun Chujia's hand without batting an eyelid. He did not want He Xinjiu to be the only one to be teleported in later. At this moment, Xue Wuji sneakily moved to Di Biming's side. He grabbed Di Biming's arm and said while licking his face, "Everything is urgent. Everything is urgent." Di Biming's expression instantly darkened. Just as he was about to throw this idiot away, a ray of light flashed past. When he opened his eyes again, he had already arrived in a stone hall. In the middle of the stone hall was a stone platform. There was a huge skeleton on it, and on the ground was a huge white tiger skin. The ferocious white tiger shadow was looking at them with hostility. "Wow!" Xue Wuji exclaimed in surprise. "The skin of the white tiger is really good. Little sister Jiu, I think the skin of the white tiger and the nine-tailed fox is even better. You can make a cloak by then." Hearing Xue Wuji's words, He Xinjiu was stunned. Why was the head of the black chicken also teleported in? On second thought, she knew what the guy was planning. Was he afraid that the white tiger egg would be contracted by her or the pretty boy if he was not careful? The white tiger was so angry that it cried out, "Stupid humans, how dare you have designs on me? None of you can escape today. Coincidentally, that little girl with the heavenly thunder spirit root can let me possess her, and I can regain my freedom." Yun Chujio said to Di Biming and Xue Wuji casually, "I'll leave it to you." Xue Wuji immediately pounced forward with his eyes shining. He wished that he could kill the white tiger immediately so that he could become the white tiger egg. Even if Di Biming and Xue Wuji joined hands, the two of them could not fight back in less than 15 minutes. This white tiger was obviously much more powerful than the green dragon from before. He Xinjiu released Tao Wu and Qiong Qi when she saw this and brought De Hua out as well. Tao Wu and De Hua immediately rushed towards the white tiger. Only Qiong Qi came to He Xinjia's side. With a fawning expression, she said, "Little fairy, didn't you say that you have the opportunity to use the great void soul nourishing formation to nourish our souls? When can you do that? I can't wait to form a shell to work together with you. Get lost. Get as far away as possible." He Xinjiu said in a bad mood. It was better to let such a person who could not speak human language stay in the bottle. After being scolded by He Xinjiu, Qiong Qi did not get angry. Instead, he smiled even more obsequiously. "Little fairy, please scold me a little more. I feel so comfortable all over." He Xinjiu gritted her teeth in anger. "Why aren't you going up to help? Are you looking for a beating?" Hearing this, Qiong Qi immediately joined the battle. Then, he said to White Tiger, "Tisk tsk, I say, you are really unlucky to have met He Xinhuang's little fairy. Don't you know that she is the worst person in the world? I advise you to struggle. Let the three of us tear you apart and eat you." The white tiger was so angry that it was twitching. If it knew that this wretched girl had the remnant souls of Qiong Qi and Tao Wu, it would not take the initiative to provoke her. It was all that damn Wan Chen's fault. No wonder that wretched girl said that he deserved to die. Indeed, he deserved to die. He deserved to die 10,000 times. Naturally, the white tiger would not really give up on resisting. If it did not fight with all its might, it would lose its life. Unfortunately, even though it struggled with all its might, it could not escape the fate of being eaten in the end. Qiong Qi burped as he ate. He felt that the little girl who followed the black-hearted girl back then was absolutely right. If he did not follow her, how could he have the fortune to eat the remnant souls of the divine beasts? Chapter 3657, The Miserable Xue Wuji. If there was anyone who was the most nervous in this stone hall, it would be Xue Wuji. This fellow had long heard He Xinjiu describe the process of the golden dragon turning into an egg, so he stared at the skeleton and fur on the stone platform. He had already thought it through. Once the white tiger egg appeared, he would rush up and put it into the spirit beast bag to prevent any accidents from happening again. As he expected, the skeleton and fur on the stone platform were burning, and a white tiger egg appeared in the end. Xue Wuji jumped to the front of the white tiger egg and tried to put the egg into the spiritual beast pouch. To his surprise, he did not succeed. Xue Wuji was confused. Why didn't it work? He Xinjiu was confused, too. Therefore, she released Meng Yanshou. Meng Yanshou grinned and said, "The four godly beasts are different from other spiritual beasts. They can only be kept in the spiritual beast pouch after the contract is signed." Hearing that, Xue Wuji immediately bit his finger and made a cut. He dripped the blood on the white tiger egg, and then nothing happened. The white tiger egg did not respond at all. Xue Wuji tried more than 100 times, and he almost passed out due to excessive blood loss. However, he failed to sign the contract with the white tiger egg. Xue Wuji immediately felt terrible. Was he being despised? Why was the little perverted dragon with a paralyzed face crying and begging for a contract when he had almost bled out? He Xinjiu looked at Xue Wuji, who had nothing to live for. She said dryly, "Brother Wuji, maybe the spiritual sense of the white tiger egg is too weak right now, so there's no way to form a contract with it. I'll try again in a few days. It doesn't matter if I can't put it into the spiritual beast bag. Why don't you just put a bag on your back?" Hearing He Xinjiu's words, Xue Wuji felt a little comforted. He took out a piece of cloth from his storage ring, wrapped the white tiger egg tightly, and carried it on his back. After comforting Xue Wuji, He Xinjiu began to pull out the 6 10,000-year-old black iron chains. They were good stuff and could not be wasted. The guy finally put the 6 10,000-year-old black iron chains into his storage ring. Then, he suddenly thought of a question. If the spiritual sense of the white tiger egg was still weak, how would they get out? Would they be crushed to death inside? The stone hall was shaking more and more violently. Xue Wuji held the white tiger egg in his hand. He said in a flattering manner, "Little white tiger, cute little white tiger, mighty little white tiger, let us out quickly, or we will be buried here." Unfortunately, the white tiger egg did not respond at all, as if it was a dead egg. Fuck. Hei Xinjiu took out a large kitchen knife and waved it over the egg. If you play dead again, do you believe that I will turn you into egg soup and eat you? It was not known whether Hei Xinjia's threat had worked or not, but when the lights flashed and everyone regained their sight, they were already outside. Xue Wuji was afraid that the news of the white tiger egg would be exposed. Just as he was about to wrap the white tiger egg with the wrapper, he realized that the white tiger egg in his hand had disappeared without a trace. Xue Wuji was stunned at first, then he was filled with sorrow. Little sister Jiu could contract a divine beast or something for no reason, so why was it so difficult for him? Not only was there a huge basin of blood, but the damn white tiger egg was still missing. Where did it go? However, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he could not say much. He only looked at Hei Xinjiu with resentment. Hei Xinjiu also noticed that the white tiger egg in Xue Wuji's hand was missing. She was also very puzzled. Could it be that the white tiger egg ran away in a panic? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.